So today was WWE Clash the Castle in Scotland, and might I say, this was a pretty good show. Not just a good show, but newsworthy in some ways. We're definitely going to talk about that in a second. But first, I have to address the crowd. WWE has been doing international shows for the last 2 shows now, and I've been loving it, absolutely, 100%. They're loud, they're singing, they're reacting to just about everything. Not gonna lie, it's starting to make me want WWE to only do pay-per-views overseas. I mean, we're on SmackDown. You could throw us a bone and keep it here. You can give us WrestleMania. You can give us SummerSlam. Give us the big 5. You know what I mean? Give us the big 5. Every other pay-per-view, just do overseas. The Americans, they're too ungrateful. They don't appreciate it. They're spoiled. Some cities don't even react anymore. And I'm only half joking when I say that, but like, I really do hope they do more touring overseas. Now, let's get into the card. Triple H has been sticking to a trend of doing only 5 to 6 matches per pay-per-view, and I think he should keep it up. Because when he does this, each match gets at least 10 plus minutes. Starting off with the opening match of Cody Rhodes defending his WWE Universal Championship against AJ Styles in an I Quit match. Commentary made a note this is only the 26th I Quit match in WWE history. Which is crazy when you think about how long WWE's been around. This is only number 26. That's really, really small in comparison to other matches they've had. It's a very protected match, and I can appreciate when they actually, pump this out because it gets the crowd hyped. Because, who's actually going to say the words, I quit? Cody Rhodes, in some ways, has become like the John Cena of our generation. So it's almost impossible for me to envision him saying the words, I quit. And I'm not going to lie, in this match, we definitely saw some 2008 John Cena booking. Because the first 10 to even 15 minutes of this match was just Cody Rhodes getting his ass kicked. This guy was getting hit with chairs and kendo sticks. He got whipped with a belt. He had his hands tied behind his back, and then he was whipped even more. At one point, I'm just like, are you gonna fight back soon? Like, yeah, man, I get it. You can start making a comeback now. You only did get your ass kicked for 15 minutes. Mama Rhodes even was involved in this match when AJ Styles went outside the ring and started poking at her, and she decided to slap him 3 times, like back to back to back slapped him. AJ then grabbed a chair and threatened to hit her, which I thought was like, oh shit. I mean, you ain't gonna do it, but like, oh shit. That's when Cody somewhat escaped out of the handcuffs and then got back in the ring with AJ. Also, I thought it was comically funny that the handcuffs that Cody had on was like long, like this was a long chain. I mean, it wasn't like jump rope size long, but like it was long enough that like you see why Cody got out of that. Cody got out of the handcuffs, handcuffed AJ to the rope, grabbed the steel steps, and then basically threatened to bludgeon him. And that's what made AJ Styles say I quit. Unique, but also kind of tame finish, but I'm not mad at it. I give it 4.25 out of 5 stars. Great match. I don't know how many people took note of this, but I did. At the end of the match when Cody won, after his mother persuaded him to do so, he hit AJ Styles with the steel steps anyway. He then demanded his championship, put the steel steps down, stood on top of it, and posed with the title. That 20-second stretch was like the most Homelander thing he's ever done. This might be like the closest we have gotten to Cody Rhodes being a heel because there was nothing babyface about the end of that match. I am not ready for him to turn heel yet. I think there's way more miles to get out of babyface Cody Rhodes. But 1 year, 2 years out from now, I think we might be eating good. We had the big 2, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, defending their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against the teams of Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, Alba Fire, and Isla Dawn. This was like okay. One positive I will give is that WWE did a traditional triple threat tag team match where there's 3 teams in the ring and they have to tag each other in. I absolutely detest when they're doing like a triple threat tag and they put like teams on the same side. I think that's so dumb. So I like the format of this match. The chemistry was just clunky. They made it work, but there was a botch here, a botch there. I know people were talking all about Jade Cargill doing that botch springboard spot. There was also a moment when Shayna Baszler had Jade Cargill in the Kira Fuda clutch, and it looked like Jade Cargill basically she didn't look like she basically did tap out. It was a light one, but she the camera caught it plain view. Referee didn't see it. That was the cop out. My assumption is that Shayna Baszler had the submission on a little too tight, so Shayna had to kind of tap her to let her know that, hey, let up a little bit. Yeah, not the best look. Big 2 hit their tag team finisher on Shayna Baszler. Isla Dawn came in and hit a German suplex on a Jade. This German suplex also felt like it took like 2 business days to handle. Got Jade out of the way and pinned Shayna Baszler to become the new Women's Tag Team Champions. A nice little moment for the Scottish ladies in Scotland. I don't know what's going to come of this reign because I think it was more for the moment than long term. but I am happy for them. I would give this match 2.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't bad, but clunky, messy. When it wasn't, it was actually fine, but nothing super entertaining about it. We then got into Sami Zayn defending his WWE Intercontinental Championship against Chad Gable. This was one of the better matches of the night. These two have really good chemistry whenever they're in the ring with each other. Chad Gable obviously has a story with Otis and Maxine Dupree where he's being very abusive, very hard on them. It's obviously building up to Otis finally turning on Chad Gable, going babyface, and whatever happens with Chad Gable happens with Chad Gable. Presumably the Creed brothers. There was a lot of near falls in here and definitely a lot of moments where Maxine and Otis were conflicted on what they should do. I think they're starting to overdo their spots a little bit. They may have cut back on Chad Gable slapping the shit out of Otis 5 times a night. But like, how many times can Maxine Dupree tease throwing in the towel for Chad Gable before she actually does it? Or before the crowd gets annoyed of this? The one little nugget they threw in here, which was different and I liked, Maxine Dupree had a boot on her foot and Chad Gable accidentally got launched into her by Sami Zayn and he basically chop blocked her foot. Suplex likes domestic violence against women. Calm down, calm down. I just thought the spot was cool. Otis got up all big and bad, ready to fight, and he didn't do nothing. I'm sorry, but Otis is really starting to annoy me at this point. How many weeks are you going to let your friends get slapped around, dog-piled on, and you do nothing? He does instead take her to the back, and he leaves the match. Chad Gable, being distracted, left room for Sami Zayn to hit the Helluva Kick and get the win to retain his Intercontinental Championship. I'm not going to lie, I was actually a little frustrated after this match was over. Because number one, not only is this storyline becoming repetitive and redundant, Sami Zayn beat Chad Gable again. Like, this is the 3rd time he done beat this man. I get that you're trying to tell a long-term story, but at what point do you say enough is enough and it's time to move on? Because you done failed to win the Intercontinental Championship from Sami Zayn 3 times now. Why would Sami Zayn even want to give you a championship rematch? Not only are you a dysfunctional leader, but you are a loser too. Why would I, as the champion, give you a 4th match? The Chad Gable chase has been going on for long enough. I'm guessing the next time they're facing off is Money in the Bank. I understand Chad Gable re-signed with WWE, so he's there for the long haul. Maybe you're gonna say, what's the rush? He's already there. But this story is dragging at this point. What more mileage are you going to gain when Otis has not turned, Maxine has not stood up to him, Kira has not walked down on him, and Sami Zayn keeps beating him? It's the same thing every week. Something needs to change. Money in the Bank has to be that change. Either Chad Gable needs to hurry up and bring the Creed brothers with him, and that faction can spice things up a little bit, Otis needs to grow a set of balls and finally fight this man back, or Chad Gable needs to straight up win the championship. Preferably all 3 in one shot, but I can understand if maybe you don't want to do them all at once. But please, do at least one of them. Because if we come out of Money in the Bank and Sami Zayn is still the champion, Chad Gable is still with Otis and Maxine and has no new direction, I'm going to start asking what the hell are we doing here? Because by that point, Sami Zayn should be feuding with somebody else going at the SummerSlam, not Chad Gable still. Anyway, I would give this match 4.25 out of 5 stars. I may have even given it 4.5 had Chad Gable won, or we would have gotten a better finish than the same tired distraction finish. And don't you ever say that Suplex only critiques AEW, because here I am actually pointing out the redundancy and the issue I have with WWE. Bayley defended her WWE Women's World Championship against Piper Niven. Piper Niven from Scotland got a big pop, but noticeably smaller than the other Scots I saw in the show. When that bell rung, for like at least the first 5 or so minutes, the crowd, I don't want to say the crowd was dead, but the crowd definitely was getting tired out. We done had an I Quit match, then they had Alba Fire and Nyla Dawn, the hometown girls winning the championships, and then right after that, they got into Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, which had a pretty controversial, or some might even say a favorable finish. They've been on 10 for about majority of the show, so they were going to have to cool down at some point, and I think this was unfortunately the match where they were cooling down at. Now, midway through, I think the crowd was starting to get their energy back because they were starting to get hype. The match itself was just fine. Better than the women's tag, but I would say good for like a Monday Night Raw match. This was definitely a TV match. And like I said, if you are a long-term fan of wrestling, you know what a TV match looks like. This was a TV match. The most entertaining part of this match was Chelsea Green getting thrown out by the referee, then coming back out with a lucha mask on to try and distract Bayley. It didn't work because Bayley ended up getting a crucifix pin. It was like a crucifix slam she did into a pin and got the win over Piper Niven to retain her WWE Women's World Championship. I like the finish a lot. I think the finish really is what topped this match off from it being, kind of boring. Mainly Chelsea Green and Bayley doing something other than her usual finishing move. I would give this match 3 stars. Like I said, fine match, decent. You could find some good stuff in here, but is it worth going back to see? Not really. Bayley is basically on the road to facing Nia Jax at SummerSlam. I've been having a lot of people asking me who should Bayley lose her title to. I don't quite know. I don't know if I would have it be Nia Jax, but if it's not her, I still don't know who it's going to be. I don't think SmackDown really has like a top heel right now outside of Nia Jax, but once Nia Jax is done and over with, then who is it? Now, since Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill lost their Women's Tag Team Championships, I'm led to believe that maybe they might start leaning towards a actual breakup soon, and they could be doing Jade versus Bianca at SummerSlam. They could honestly wait that match out to WrestleMania, but they could do it at SummerSlam. Or even the turn itself happen at SummerSlam. Either way, when the turn happens, it will likely be Jade going heel because she works better as a heel. When she goes heel, I think Jade will likely be the one to take the title off of Bayley, because at that point, she'll be the top heel in the division. Let me know what you guys think about that. Jade could take the title off of her, Bianca could win the Rumble, and then we see Jade and Bianca at WrestleMania 41. Let me put my chef's head down. Y'all can't be getting recipes for free now. You at least gotta leave a tip in a tip jar for all the cooking that I'm doing for you guys. Real shit though, main event was Damian Priest defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. Now going into this main event, I said to myself, we've already had Isla Dawn and Alba Fire winning the championships. They were the Scots, they won. So it is not out of the realm of possibility, if not entirely more so leaning towards Damian Priest retaining. I accepted this once Isla Dawn and Alba Fire won. First things first, Drew did not come out to Broken Dreams, so it was cursed from the get-go. I guarantee you, he would not have lost this match had Shawn Men's Harvest had their way. But Galantry still a fine theme song, so I guess that works. First 5 minutes, Drew McIntyre is just on fire. This man is doing topes, he's doing roll-through pins, he's just throwing Damian Priest around and doing kip-ups. He's really embracing the crowd, and the crowd was just on fire for Drew McIntyre. A little after that 5-minute mark is when Damian Priest went for his typical, step-up tope con hilo outside the ring. That's when this happened. Opportunity to prove himself. That spot was just very scary to see because the way he came down on the apron, he could have easily broke his neck. I was just hoping at best he just sprained his ankle because afterwards he was noticeably limping and he wrestled throughout the rest of the match, but he was favoring that leg and that knee throughout the rest of the match. We could easily chalk it up to selling, but I don't think that was selling. I think he was legitimately hurt, and maybe he was playing it up a little bit more, but I think he legitimately hurt himself. And my hoping is that he's okay. But in the press conference, he straight up says his ankle feels like trash. We just gonna have wishful thinking that at best, he sprained his ankle. And that the adrenaline has worn off, so now the pain is just hitting him all at once. Like I said, Damian Priest did recover from this spot, but he was limping there afterwards. Also, shout out to Drew McIntyre because when that spot happened, Drew McIntyre almost immediately went to help Damian, but then he remembered, oh, I'm in the match, and he started stomping at him. Now, after 20 seconds of Damian struggling, Drew McIntyre did help him get untied, but he kind of worked it into I'm going to untie you so that way I could beat you down some more. Truly a professional and really good improvisation from Drew McIntyre there. The match did slow down a little bit beyond this point, but they were still going at each other. My man Drew at one point hit a Claymore out of nowhere, and I didn't even know this was possible because he wasn't even bouncing off the ropes or running straight at him. He just Claymored him. I thought that was it. Damian kicks out. Damian hits South of Heaven. Drew kicks out. It's anybody's game at this point. Now the referee is on the rope. He gets backed into, but he makes it off in just a nick of time. I'm like, all right, cool. He then gets back on the rope and 2 seconds later gets bounced off and now he's down. I thought that was phony as hell. But once the referee goes down, chicanery's about to happen. Now I'm thinking, okay, here comes the Judgment Day. CM Punk is still looming in the back of my head, but I genuinely thought the Judgment Day was coming out because they hadn't come out during his entrance. But out comes a guy, and this was shot perfectly. Perfectly shot. WWE's production team, second to none. The camera is facing Drew, so the referee slides in and you can only see his backside as he goes for the pin. Now, it took me a second to realize the hair, and once I saw the hair, I knew who it was and I knew what was happening here. But once he got the 2, he stopped. And that's when the crowd really came alive, because then they realized what was happening. And the camera lingered on CM Punk, the back of his head, as Drew's face started to get angry and angrier. Then it panned to CM Punk, and we saw CM Punk had a referee shirt on. Obviously, he's not an official. He's just there to fuck with Drew McIntyre. That whole sequence was just perfect. Drew grabs him by the shirt, he has him in a corner, CM Punk kicks him in the dick and walks out. Now the crowd is booing CM Punk, who is a babyface. This should have been expected considering CM Punk is feuding with a guy in his home country. Need I remind you guys of when CM Punk was in AEW feuding with MJF? Whenever he went to Long Island, New York, he got booed, despite being a babyface. One thing I loved about CM Punk during his AEW one is whenever he went to Long Island, it was like the one time a year CM Punk actually acted heel throughout the entire night. He kind of brought that over to WWE in this match. Damian Priest recovered, he hit the South of Heaven onto Drew McIntyre and got the pin to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. I would give this match 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was a great match that I would say Act 2 is where it kind of sullied a little bit because of that spot, and I got to give it a little bit of grace. But that third act really brought it back up, and the finish was just icing on a cake. I can't say it was perfect, but it was entertaining as all hell. Now that we're on the road to Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, Damian Priest is still the World Heavyweight Champion, which means as of now, it looks like it's going to be Damian Priest versus Gunther at SummerSlam. WWE is really doing something interesting here, where they're having technically a heel champion in Damian Priest feuding with other heels. Drew is a heel. He might be cheered here, but he is still a heel in this feud with CM Punk. Gunther is a heel. Now, by the time he enters that feud, he might be a face, because there's something going on with him in the Judgment Day. Maybe they might kick him out. Maybe he might leave. This may come down to if he's going to have a match at Money in the Bank. Because the thing about Triple H in these 5 match cards is that you can't fit all champions on your card. And Damian Priest not only had a match on the show, but he main evented. We're 2 weeks away from Money in the Bank, so it's safe to assume that he doesn't really need to be on that card if they don't have an opponent lined up for him right now. Which we're 2 weeks out, so I'm going to assume they probably don't. But I am intrigued to see what the summer holds for Damian Priest, El Campeon, because I've been enjoying his reign. And in some ways, I'm happy he actually retained here. Half of me is like, yeah, Drew should have won. It's his hometown, They screwed him out of it last year or 2022. Give him his win now. Why take away something that's good? Why take away something good? Drew McIntyre re-signed. He'll have his moment again sometime in the near future. It's not like he didn't win at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre's time will come again. Yeah, for all we know, that feud with CM Punk may be for the World Heavyweight Championship depending on when he wins it. Either Drew or CM Punk. In totality, I would give this show 7 out of 10. Some things I would change about this card and some finishes I would, revise, but overall, I enjoyed the show. That's my review of Clash of the Castle. What do you guys think about the show? Comment down below, let me know. Talk more soon.